valleys, to the oceans white with foam. God bless America, my home sweet home. God bless America, my home sweet home. Thank you.
And as we celebrate the upcoming Veterans Day, I think we have some announcements and congratulations to give out here pretty soon. But before that, we have Donna come up here and introduce the guests.
Can we sit down?
Yes,
You can sit down.
I got arrows here. Two. Forget it.
Today as our guest, we have Bronson Bozak, the son of Val Bozak, who lives in California. We also have Ivan Colinas. He's a guest of Cody, Johns, and me. Welcome you. Let's give him a warm Texas.
And before the program gets started, we're going to give you a couple announcements. We have Patty here first. Yeah, we have stairs here. If you're coming to have an announcement, we're going to come up here to the left. There's stairs for you to come up. And don't be tempted to preach.
Another one goes down. I'm not going to preach.
Right?
Lay it on the Patty.
Rick Lindsay couldn't be here today, and he just wanted me to thank everyone who had helped get the flags in place for Veterans Day. And special thanks to Kathy Howard. Special thanks to Kathy Howard. Woo! And of course, Bill LeVar and the warehouse team.
Yeah.
If you all have not been to, well, you wouldn't have this soon, but the flags are out at Millennium Fountain. They're all over the city. You know, we have, what is it, 1,492 flags on. Now, but at Millennium Fountain, and I think there's a couple of other locations where we've added the 6 branches of the military, those flags, and they're just beautiful, y'all. So if you get a chance across from City Hall, they're there, and I think, Carrie, are they at Grand Treviso too? Okay. And so if y'all get a chance to do that. But on behalf of Rick Lindsay, I thank you very much.
Thank you for everything you guys did this week. I know it was pretty tough with the rain coming today and just a few people working the crews, but you guys got it all done and great job. We also do have Cody Jones that's going to be quick announcement. Going to get the announcements out of the way before the presentation. So that way, if we have any questions after for the presenter, we can have those as well. And before that, I want to welcome the people that are joining us online on Zoom. As a reminder, guys, if you're not able to make it, you can click on the Zoom link that Mara sends to the weekly emails. So that way you can join us and be present, even if you're not able to make it to the meeting that day. Here you go.
I promise I won't preach. It's amazing we already have 3 preachers in the room, right? Amen. So I do want to, first I want to say is Miss Bonnie, I know many of us in the room knew Miss Bonnie. I was received information at her funeral. It's going to be on Wednesday, November the 15th at 10 a.m. at the Irving Bible Church. Again, that's going to be on Wednesday, November the 15th from 10 a.m. at the Irving Bible Church. So if you're able to be there at that time, please be there. This Bonnie was a remarkable
Tell
woman.
them it is Bonnie Kelly. Her husband Troy was a member.
Yes, Bonnie Kelly, sorry. Yes, thank you. And so if you're available at that time, please come out and just show your love and support. She was a strong and a remarkable woman. So thank you for allowing me to share this.
Thank you, Cody, and if you want more information on what Cody just mentioned, if you could please go to the email that Mara sent over this morning, and there's additional information there as well, so you can be part of the service. Do we have any other announcements that I missed from anybody of the club today? Okay, as you change?
Can I make it at the end?
Yes. And just a reminder, I'm not sure that's next week, we are gonna have a meeting at Shane's Church and also a mixer in the evening, so that will do with that. And before I introduce the speaker, at the last meeting with the board, we decided that we are going to order all the members who are actively participating and coming to the meetings a name badge that's gonna have the Rotary logo on the top, along with your name. So that way, as we go out into the community to this different organizations that have mixers or the events, you can represent Rotary as well and probably show that you are Rotarian. And so that way people can join us as well and see you guys being active as well. And so if you have any members that you know that are part of the club that have not been attending the meetings, I want to ask you to ask them again to join us so that we can order them a badge. We're only going to order badges for those who are attending the meetings in person, and hopefully that encourages more participation from everybody that has been active. Again, we'll be starting with the meeting and the program today. Today we have the honor of having Colleen join us as part of the program. Just a little about Colleen, and before she comes on here, she's an appointee to the City of Dallas Environmental Commission since 2022. She's a former small animal veterinarian, and once she retired from veterinary practice, she started on another education pathway and has since become a master gardener and a master naturalist. She also completed a landscape certification course and a native plantings and completed introductory courses in arborist training, forestry, and entomology. Sorry, you can tell us more about that. But I'll have you come up to the stage and everybody, if you can help me welcome Colleen Murray.
Hello, everybody. I appreciate being here. Honestly, I was standing there and I can't remember the last time that.
Might be hard to do. I might have to stick it up. There you go.
Thank you for having me. I can't remember the last time that I said a pledge of allegiance. I actually was raised in the military, went to 12 schools by the time I got out of high school. My father is buried in Arlington. So, it's very, I appreciate the respect. He was red, white, and blue. He loved this country, served it through many wars, and I feel like he's here with me today. I'm very nervous. So, as stated, I am a retired veterinarian. I worked most of my adult life in Dallas, Texas, and then once I retired, I decided that there were other things that I wanted to do, so I kind of tried to educate myself. And the way I wound up on commission with the City of Dallas is one of the ways that I handled my stress when I owned a business. On weekends, on the holidays, I was planting trees. Anywhere there was a place that I could put a tree in the ground, I was putting a tree in the ground. And the community around me, I live in District 11, which is in North Dallas. They noticed me and they started calling me Arbor Hood. There's that girl driving that truck planting trees. And then when the Environmental Commission was formed, and it was a result of, basically a few years ago, the United States pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. And as a result of that, many cities in the country and around the world decided that they were going to step up and try to do what they could to help with some of our climate issues and to control our temperature rising above 1.5 degrees centigrade. And the City of Dallas stepped in and they formed a commission, the Environmental Commission. And I live in District 11. They were looking for people to be on this commission, and somebody said, hey, that girl, that Arbor Hood girl is probably the one. So I got this phone call from the City of Dallas, literally, and they said, hey, do you want to be on this commission? I said, I've been waiting my whole life to be on this commission. So we're going to talk about trees today, but we're talking about it in regard to our climate plan. So This is the Dallas Comprehensive Environmental and Climate Action Plan. It is a riveting read if you want to read something. Now, what's really interesting about this plan is a Harvard Business Review has rated this the best plan in the country. We are number 1. It's number 1 we're in Texas, okay? And we have a rockin' climate plan. Now we've got to get it off paper, we got to get it into action. And it really is a great climate plan, and it's a testament to the citizens of Texas, because the citizens did this. The city of Dallas didn't do this. This was a task force. People were asked to come from the community and come up with a climate plan. And this is it right here. So there are 8 big initiatives in CCAP. I wear one hat generally better than others. And my part of this plan that I'm really focused on is our ecosystems and our canopy, our tree canopy. But we're going to kind of go through all of it. And I'm going to start with just talking about trees. I think what we need to do now, share.
Yeah.
All right, you might need to help me. Yes. Can we go, how do I get back to the very first slide? Sorry. But push you one? All right, thank you. All right, so the magnificence of trees. This is a formula that we all learned in high school. Can anybody tell me what it is? Because it is the only reason that there is life on this planet. Anybody? 6 carbon dioxides plus 6 water plus sunlight equals 6 oxygens and a sugar. So if I added chlorophyll in there, would that ring a bell? So that is photosynthesis, all right? And that is the reason that there's life on this planet.
The doctor in the room.
If we did not have photosynthesis, there'd be no oxygen.
Yep.
And we couldn't breathe, okay? So green things make oxygen. And as part, so basically what are they doing? They're taking carbon dioxide out of the atmosphere. We have too much of that. We're all aware of it, right? They add water, they add sunlight, there's chlorophyll in a leaf, and they produce oxygen as a waste product that they dissipate into the atmosphere, lucky for us, and they make sugar. What are the most common trees in Dallas? So we got live oaks, we've got cedar elms, we've got American elms, we've got pecans, we got red oaks. Now I put that in there. I put hackberries in there on purpose because a lot of people call this a trash tree, which I find offensive. That tree feeds everything. And people are like, oh, it's a trash tree, cut it down, you don't need it. There are no trash trees. Every tree has value. And this tree literally feeds everything. It is a host plant for butterflies, for moths. The berries feed all kinds of wildlife, especially in the wintertime. It is a very, very important canopy tree in any kind of wild space, a great trinity in a forest. And if you are lucky enough to have this tree in your yard, the Great Spirit is looking down on you and smiling on you. So don't do anything to hurt her. She's important no matter what somebody says. And there's a lot of other trees. And then I'll kind of bring up something else too. So there's a lot of people now that talk about native versus non-native. Okay, native trees, non-native trees. Native trees are important in an ecosystem because they actually provide security, safety, food, shelter, a place to raise your young for things that are native to your area. And some non-native trees don't do that as well, but I'll give you an example. Crepe myrtle. What would it look like here if we did not have a crepe myrtle in Texas? And they are not native. Where do they come from? China, right. Where do vitex come from? China. So interestingly enough, a lot of the landscape and a lot of the weather in China is very similar to Texas. So that's why you see a lot of these trees that you can plant in other parts of the world that do well. You know, a lot of people like lace bark elms. Well, they're really Chinese elms, and they were called lace bark because they thought that might be more appealing to people to purchase. So anyway, lots of different trees. They're all important. Some are native, some are non-native. The one thing that people forget all the time about mature trees, though, there is a universe of life in that canopy. We see a trunk, we see branches, we see leaves. What about the thousands and thousands of creatures that are living in that canopy? And they support our life, okay? So entomology is the study of invertebrates, which are insects. A lot of insects live in that canopy. Insects are the complete bottom and supporting of our food chain, all the way up to apex predators, which would be us, right? So what do baby birds eat? They don't eat birdseed. Mama birds don't have breast milk. They eat insects. And where are those insects living? They're in the canopy, if you have one, right? So baby birds are fed soft-bodied insects by their parents that collect many, many, many over the course of the day. We know that we're down billions of birds for a lot of reasons. There are a lot of reasons why we don't have as many birds as we used to. But one of the reasons is there's nothing for them to eat. So I'll give you an example. There's a book by a gentleman named Douglas Tallamy, who I think is the Rachel Carson of my generation. It's called Nature's Best Hope. Chickadees used to have 3 to 4 clutches of eggs every year with 3 to 4 babies. Now they have 1 clutch with maybe 2 to 3. Why? Because there's no food. When they go to find their tree, where is it? Well, it's not there anymore. It got chopped down. Somebody wanted a driveway or a convenience store or whatever it may be. So I'm going to tie this back into why these canopies are so important, especially in our urban areas. But remember, that tree is full of life, full of life. This brings me to my next slide. These are the citizens of our town, of our cities, of our states, and our country. We are not the only citizens. Every animal, every insect, every bird, all of us deserve a place to live. And we deserve to be considered when we're growing and developing and building, whatever we may be doing. What does one mature tree do each year? Well, they save money on air conditioning and heat if you have it in the right place. People forget about the pollution of noise. I think it's a terrible pollution. When it's really loud, you can't think, it makes you crazy. Think about trees. If you have a hedge of magnolias or hollies, think about what they do to break up the noise. It's amazing. So they mitigate noise, they clean the air and water. Trees literally filter a lot of the particulate matter out of the air. And we have a lot in the air in Dallas, Texas. They generate oxygen. We can't make oxygen. They can make oxygen. One mature tree provides oxygen for 10 human beings for a year. Think about that. That's amazing. One of those trees out there is making enough oxygen for 10 people to live for a year. They absorb carbon. They retain 1,000+ gallons of storm water. So does everybody realize that when it rains, if all the water runs into the gutter, where does that water go? Is it recharging your aquifer? It's going into the Gulf of Mexico. So basically, it's not helping your landscape at all. Now, you've got a lot of open space here. You've got a lot of grass. This probably would recharge the aquifer. But most cities, especially in North Dallas where I live, if it's running down the drain, it's gone. It's not helping anybody. Out of curiosity, there's one country in the world that has 20% of the fresh water on the planet. Does anybody know what country that is? It's the United States. And where is that fresh water? Great Lakes, all right? The Great Lakes hold 20% of the fresh water in the world. Why is that important? What's happening to fresh water? We're losing it. What's happening to ocean water? It's going up. So our oceans are going up, our aquifers, our lakes are going down. We're using fresh water. But we happen to have 1/5 of the world's supply. That's amazing. And the other thing I like to bring up about those Great Lakes, I grew up I lived in Akron, Ohio for a while when I was younger. And that was the time where we had literally killed the Great Lakes. Do you all remember that? Cuyahoga River catching on fire, all the Great Lakes were dead because of all the waste. and the toxic pollution that had been put into them. Now they are alive. You can literally drink the water from Lake Superior. Now, I'm not advocating that. You can also see 50 feet down, but those lakes are alive. And that was a decision that we made to change the way we were doing business and living. So the whole point of that is, you know, all these climate problems that we have, every single problem we have today can be solved. Every single one of them. It doesn't take some kind of outrageous sacrifice or technology that we don't already have. And we've already done it. We've already shown that we can go back in and say, oh my God, look what happened. So the environmental plan was adopted in 2020. There are 8 initiatives, and we're going to go through them quickly. So first one, all Dallas's communities breathe clean air. How are we doing on that one? Dallas has been out of EPA air compliance since 1990, and the bar is low. Okay, the EPA is not looking for great air. They're just looking for air that when you take a deep breath, you don't wind up in an ER. I'm not even being funny. Okay, our air is not good here, and it's been out of compliance a long time. Dallas's buildings are energy efficient and climate resilient. We're getting better. Building codes, insulation, weather stripping, that's on the improve. We're going to skip the next one. Dallas generates and uses renewable, reliable, and affordable energy. The city of Dallas does buy renewable energy. Who's the #1 wind producer in the nation? Texas. Do we use it here in Texas? Not so much. We sell it to other places. We're also really high in terms of solar. We produce a lot of wind. We actually produce more wind here than the other 3 states coming behind us. Oklahoma, Iowa, maybe Kansas, all of them combined. Texas outdoes them, all right? All Dallas communities have access to healthy local food. 35% of our population cannot get to a grocery store. They don't have a car. 35%. Dallas communities have access to sustainable, affordable transportation. We're doing better. DART, buses. The city's trying. They're trying hard. Dallas protects its water resources and its communities from flooding and drought. What do you think about that one? If you have we have 100 square miles of concrete in Dallas, 2 San Francisco's. 35% of our city is concrete and climbing. So when it rains really hard, where's the water go? In your neighbor's house, down the street, right? You see it on the news all the time. It rains really hard and an entire neighborhood is flooded. I think there's a lot of planning to try to make that better. But the city of Dallas and all the surrounding areas, the golden triangle of growth in the United States of America is Fort Worth to Dallas to Houston to Austin, San Antonio. Massive growth. And you got to be careful about where your watershed is and where's your water going when it rains, right? And our rain events, this is a beautiful experience. But is this the typical experience that we're having anymore? No, normally it all comes down in 3 hours, right? This is what you want. You want this soft, slow rain so that the ground can absorb it. It doesn't run off. So it's a beautiful day in Dallas, Texas when I see this. So this is my part. So there are 8 sections. We've gone over 7 green spaces. So I have passion for trees. I feel like I have a relationship with the trees in my yard. Maybe it's all in my head, but I do. All right. Dallas has 388 parks and climbing, 27,000 acres, and then we are very lucky to have the largest second growth forest in the country. It's called the Great Trinity Forest. It is literally the lungs and the kidneys of our city. It's going to save us. It's going to save us. So the commission has 15 members that are representing districts. There's actually 14 districts. The last member is appointed by the mayor. There are also 8 technical members, and these are experts in their field: air quality, food, waste. What does Dallas County look like? So I think this looks like a chicken, and the color of the green on this basically is kind of where our canopy is. All right, so you can tell that West Dallas is bleak, 16 to 17%. North and East Dallas, you've got a fair amount of canopy. South Dallas does have some canopy. The problem is South Dallas is not zoned residential, it's industrial. It's got I-20, it's got I-30, it's got I-45. It's got batch plants, it's got asphalt plants, it's got shingle plants. You just can't even imagine. We'll drive it, you see what's there. A lot of it's right next to a neighborhood. Think about that. Where is the heat in Dallas? So Dallas is a heat island. Does everybody know what a heat island is? So a heat island is a city that heats up during the day and it doesn't cool off at night because it has so much concrete. So where is the heat in Dallas? Well, it's west and it's south. East and north are doing a little bit better. And the difference is sometimes 10 to 15 degrees. So think about that. If it's 103 in North Dallas, it's 113 in South Dallas, or hotter, depending on where you are, right? I did a study this summer with NOAA and drove around the medical districts, and I'll be curious to see what comes out of that. We'll have heat sensors on our vehicles. Just think about that. How hot was it really in parts of the city that have a lot of buildings and a lot of concrete? So heat islands, again, are cities that are heating up and not cooling down. The hottest urban heat island city in the country is Phoenix. They're in a desert. Guess who's a close second? And we're not in a desert. There's a debate as to whether we're second or third. But either way, we're really hot. Dallas is 35% plus concrete climbing. There's no end in sight. Buildings, entire lots paved over for homes, driveways, schools, parking lots, roadways, and cutting down and scraping everything in the way. Fewer trees, less rain. So think about that. The roots of those trees in the ground absorb water. They breathe. It's called transpiration. They release it through their leaves, goes into the air, and it comes in cloud and rain. So you cut your trees down, what happens to your rain? Bye-bye. Right? No rain. Fewer trees, more heat. All right? Those leaves break that before it gets to the surface underneath the tree in the summer. It can be 94 degrees in the middle of the street. It's 160 degrees. So I have one of these little heat cameras. I go out there and I just see how hot it is. It's hot. And guess where it's the hottest in the city? Hospital districts and schools. Schools have 6 to 9% canopy. Think about that. How hot is it on that playground for those kids? 160 degrees, 166 degrees. And what's even hotter than concrete is that rubber stuff they have all over the ground. So they're better off staying on their iPad inside, right? Fewer trees, more air pollution. We have nothing fighting air pollution here, but leaves do, trees do. Fewer trees, dirtier groundwater. Roots actually try to clean the water. Fewer trees, less water in the aquifer. What happens when you cut your trees down and it rains and it goes down the side of the hill? Bye-bye. Now it's in the gutter. Trees, the hill's a mess. All the topsoil's gone. Fewer trees, more flooding and erosion. Every single climate solution relies on mature trees, not 3-inch replacement trees that have to be watered for years. In order to make it in Dallas, Texas, you have to take care of a tree for 2 to 3 years until she can get it into the ground. %70 of the canopy in Dallas is on private land, which means you can do anything you want, right? Most of the trees reside on less than 2 acres. Landowners have no obligation to save trees on these sites regardless of the condition, age, or location of the tree. As you drive around Dallas, it is obvious that very little is saved. It is easier to scrape the lot and send the dead to the dump. And that's what's happening. I call these crime scenes. And these are all from my neighborhood. I drive around and I'm like, oh my God, another house, we'll chop it down. I can't even drive down that street until that's gone because it gives me pain. It's like a 70-year-old red oak, right? We could have worked around that. We could put people on the moon. Oh my God, we couldn't build around that tree. And then we scrape everything off, all the important soil, and then we either pile it on the curb for the city of Dallas to pick it up, or they haul it away. So here's some other crime scenes. So here they tried to save the trees, sort of, all right? But we have this dumpster. So it might get hot. Let's put it on the roots of the one tree remaining on the lot, okay? The roots of trees live within 12 to 18 inches of the soil. And when you compact the soil down on roots, guess what? They die. They may not die in a week, but 6 months, a year and a half after, you see this at construction sites. That big old tree in the front yard is gone. Why? Because this is what happened. They weren't watering them, they were piling equipment, they were pouring out stuff. There's fencing here, they got that around that tree until somebody wants to park, and then they just park right over the top of it, because they don't want their car or their truck to be hot. And then if all else fails, now we want to put in their irrigation system. So we come to this is a line on that upper left slide, and we get a trencher and we trench through all the roots. Now, if you had an air spade, you could just remove the dirt, put your piping right underneath it and save that tree, who's performing all kinds of ecological services for you. So I'm like, well, maybe they needed a trench for their garbage because that's where they put it, because it was too far to get to the dumpster. I don't know. And then they're just gonna bury it anyway. So that's what's happening. It's what's happening in my neighborhood. Now, not everybody, but a lot of times it's what's happening. These areas are all in North Dallas. The mature canopy has been destroyed and the topsoil has been scraped all to the landfill. Again, we can do better. We're gonna have to do better. This is a parking lot near my house. There's no stadium close by, so you'd say, well, they needed that parking. They might have a game. And then, we decided to put asphalt on top of it in July. I'm like, okay. We can do better. There's something called cool coat. They're using it in California. They're using it in Arizona. You can coat the top and you can drop your temperature 5 to 10 degrees. There's porous concrete. So you can spend a little bit more on your concrete and you can have concrete that would actually allow some water to go through and fill your aquifer. How about a bioswale in the middle of that parking lot where you've got curb cuts, so when it rains, instead of going down the gutter, it goes into the bioswale. And you've got plants that have been grown to deal with the runoff of a parking lot. They actually like it. Amazing. Little tiny things that we can do. Now, this is the part I really don't get. So I don't have kids, but I was a parent or a grandparent in Dallas, Texas. I would have issues. When I grew up, I'm a baby boomer. I don't remember one person using an inhaler. Now, depending on where you live in Dallas, Texas, 1 out of 10 children, or as many as 1 out of 5 are on inhalers because they've got asthma due to air quality. The #1 reason for hospitalization of children in an ER is an asthma attack in Dallas County. The #1 reason they're missing school is an asthma attack in Dallas County. I think that's scary. That little boy, he's got an inhaler. I don't know if that's albuterol or a steroid inhaler. But do you think his lungs will ever be normal? If your lungs are impacted by pollution to that degree that you need an inhaler and you're 4 or 5 years old, nothing is without consequences. So air quality matters. It really does matter. And it doesn't take a long to get better. So that's my whole point. My sister's like, oh my God, you're so depressing. And I'm like, I know. But the whole point is everything we need to do better, we already have. We can make this better. I mean, you don't have to make huge sacrifices to improve your air quality. You really don't. But I think people aren't aware. When I pull this statistic up, which is a well-known statistic, people are like, oh my God, are you sure? And I'm like, yeah, it's black and white. Look it up, visit ERs. Where is this street? So this is in my district, this is North Haven. Who wouldn't want to live on this street? It's so beautiful. You could just feel your heart rate go down, blood pressure goes down, you have a hard day at work. You turn on your street, you're like, God, I'm almost home. Precious, these trees are welcoming you home, helping you with your stress, helping your endorphins. It used to look better before the tornado took out part of them. Where do you want to park? You want to park under the shade or over here in the sun? Top of your roof can be 166 degrees parked in the sun in Dallas, Texas. But if you're under that shade tree, it's 94 degrees. Healthy environment equal healthy body and mind. This is Valley House Gallery. Who wouldn't want to live there? So these are also in my neighborhood. This house on the right was just finished. This, the builders in my neighborhood know me. And they're always like, hi Colleen, what is it now? God bless them, they always answer the phone. I know they see me come up on caller ID and they're like, and I said, oh my God, I said, I just want to thank you so much for not chopping those trees down. I said, you're a hero. I said, but we're gonna have to put some fencing around those trees because the guys that work for you are tired of me coming and making them move their car. And then as soon as I leave, they come back up there. And he goes, all right, you know what? I'm gonna put fencing up. And sure enough, he's got trees and they look good. And I guarantee he got more money for that house, right? And these people here on the left, they did it on their own. They were architects. They're like, hey, we're not destroying anything. We're gonna build and we're gonna have our trees at the end of our construction. And I don't think you have to say they're a tree. I mean, I'm not completely crazy, but, you know, scraping a lot and hauling it all with a dump, that's unacceptable in the year 2023. 1950 is over, all right? There's nowhere else to go. We need to save what we have. And those trees are important. And the other thing we need to consider is that tree belongs to the neighborhood. I just told you that one of those mature trees out there is supporting 10 people for a year. That's amazing. Think about that. It's cleaning the air, recharging the groundwater, producing oxygen, and guess what? They feed themselves. Who feeds themselves? We're eating, gotta feed the dog, feed the cat, feed the possum in the backyard, feed the birds. A tree feeds itself. It makes its own sugar. And on top of that, it even would fertilize itself if we would stop breaking up all those leaves and taking them to the dump. That fertilizer, you know, leaves are fertilizer. That's why they drop. They drop to the ground to decompose and help the soil, the health, the tree. So, trees are the hardest working citizens of Dallas, in my opinion. They're reliable, they're dedicated, they never complain, they feed themselves, they do not need to be paid. Bonus. Hard to find a good person, hard to find reliable help, right? They're right there in your yard. They do not have to be trained, they're not frustrated, they can work independently or in a team, they support thousands of other lives, they bring beauty to wherever they live. Trees have done more for this planet than any single human being who's ever walked on this planet. It's past time to recognize their gifts and generosity and protect them. Not every tree, but a lot of them. The simplest approach to mitigating what is happening is to stop indiscriminately cutting down mature trees and plant to build a canopy. We've got to plant to build a canopy. Where should you plant a tree? Right tree, right place, right time. Should you plant a tree in Dallas, Texas in July? No. No, no, no. Why? It can't make it. It's too hot. You can't even water that tree enough because they lose so much moisture. Trees breathe by a process called transpiration that typically occurs on the underside of the leaves. And they can't breathe until nighttime when the temperature drops low enough so that they can open their stomata, their pores. When they do that, they release oxygen, they release water vapor, they have some other waste products. But if they open it during the day, they would dehydrate and die because of how hot it is. And that brings us back to the heat island. It is so hot at night now that trees are struggling to have normal breathing or normal respiration. So right now, Dallas sits at about 30% on its canopy. The goal is to get it to 40%. We have the ability to get to 55%. What does 10% mean? It means the difference between 93 degrees and 103 degrees. There were a couple of days in August this past year where it was 93. I was like, oh my God, fall's coming. I'm like, now it's like perfect. You know, and so the difference between 93 and 103 is night and day. So think about that. If we could get our canopy to 40%, the impact that would have. Summertime, Dallas, Texas. What is Article 10? It's our tree code. It does not save trees. Anything less than 2 acres, you can do whatever you want. Cut everything down, scrape it, concrete it. It's happening all the time. No need to reinvent the wheel. There are great tree codes all over the country. California has a bunch of them. Some in the Midwest. Washington, D.C. has a great tree code. If it's between 44 and 99 inches in circumference, it's going to cost you a lot of money to cut that tree down. Cha-ching. Cities need money. And you're going to have to replace it inch per inch. If it's over 100 inches in circumference, it's not going to come down. You just need to buy a new lot, all right? Or not buy that lot. And I'm all over that. Some of these trees, you know, if you want to build, I respect that. I think people should have within reason what they want, but don't buy a heavily treed lot and cut them all down. There's plenty of other places to go. Resources. So momentum is where citizens can take over a median, an alley, they can plant. A lot of people are doing it. Many of the trees that you see in medians in Dallas are planted by your neighbors. That's where those trees have come from. They've not been heavily planted by the city. And I'm gonna guess the same thing in many of these other cities that surround Dallas. Branch Out Dallas, which I worked this past weekend, we gave out about 4,000 trees. That's through Dallas Water Utilities for people to plant. They do that every year. Branching Out Dallas's parks, Dallas Reforestation Fund. So land over 2 acres, there is a penalty unless you've done something to make up for the loss of the canopy, where you pay into that. I think there should be a whole lot of money in that fund, maybe more than there is, but that's just me. The Texas Tree Foundation, they are working hard. Cool schools, they're working in medical districts, they're trying to plant. The Texas Historical Tree Coalition, they're basically trying to protect trees by making them heritage trees. Neighborhood forest overlay, neighborhoods can come in and say, hey, you can sell your house, but these canopies are protected. And it's not rock solid where you can't take a tree down. It's just this indiscriminate scraping is what it's aimed at, to stop that. Lots of great books. If you wanted to read a great book of one of these, Nature's Best Hope by Douglas Talmey is a fantastic read. If you were to follow the recipe of this gentleman who lives in Pennsylvania, he's an active, he is a professor, still a professor. We could fix everything. Saving your mature canopy. How long does it take a tree to actually provide you these services? Depends on the tree. Some of them 20, 30 years before they're big enough, right? All of these are fantastic reads. What can each one of us do? Well, make sure that you're looking at what's happening in your neighborhood. Contact your city council person. Commit to planting the right tree in the right place at the right time and caring for that tree so it can get its roots in the ground. Think long and hard about the decisions that you make for your trees on your property before you make any fatal decisions. The other thing too is that I see all the time, I don't understand it at all. Hire an ISA arborist to do your tree work. Oh my God. You know what? So I got a tumor here on my hip. I know a guy that's good with a knife. I think I'll just have to take care of it. What? You know, when you have a guy who has a chainsaw, he has a chainsaw service. Make no mistake, that is a chainsaw service. Trees are living, breathing beings, and the way you trim them sometimes is life and death, and certainly health. You can trim incorrectly, and you can open up a tree to disease, and it happens all the time. Do you think the guy with the chainsaw service is cleaning that chainsaw when he goes from that diseased tree to your tree to the next tree down the block? Oh no. And trees have diseases, just like people. You know, do you want to go to the hospital and have the doctor use the same set of gloves? You know, oh, I washed them real good. No. Please use an ISA arborist. Use somebody who went to school and studied trees.
What about utilities that just butcher trees?
They hire chainsaw services. All right, so I'd like you all, a friend of mine works for Arbor Day, and I think that this is a pretty special video.
A tree can be unifying,
Wow, that sounds perfect.
inviting diverse communities to gather over common roots. A tree can be innovative, effortlessly pulling carbon from the air. A tree can be noble, actively nurturing life in an uncertain world. Trees see our challenges as their checklists, whether it's vulnerable neighborhoods, delicate ecosystems, or global climate change. These problems demand we do better. A tree can be what we need. That's why now is the time for trees. Lots of trees. So grab the kids, neighbors, work from home warriors, and anyone else you meet along the way. Grab your sustainability officer, CEO, and CC everyone. Tell them everything a tree can be. The Arbor Day Foundation has been planting trees for 50 years in every season and soil, in every climate and corner of the earth. We know a tree can be transformational, and we can turn local action into global impact. Let's face big challenges with greater courage, because a tree can be a solution. Let's put millions of solutions in the ground, each one breathing its benefits for decades. Each of us growing a better tomorrow.
I'm not close with that slide. So there's a fingerprint on one side, and there are tree rings on the other side. We are all living, breathing beings, and those trees are working hard to take care of us. And I'm not saying that they can solve the problems of the world right now, but they sure can help. And they do a whole lot for us. You know, I don't remember if I mentioned, there's studies about people being in hospitals. If you have a window that has a view of a park or a tree, you get out earlier, less complications, less drugs, less pain. It's been proven over and over. That's why hospitals are now redesigned. If you garden, they've now shown that people who garden and dig in the soil, you aerosolize certain types of funguses that have antidepressant activities. You inhale, you're like breathing in Prozac. You're a happier person. So, you know, if we want to move forward in this world, I mean, if we exceed 1.5 degrees centigrade, is the world going to explode? No, it's not going to explode. Is it going to be what we recognize it to be? No. A lot of things are going to change. 80% of the animals on this planet rely on trees for life. Think about that. What's it going to be like? You know, if all the trees on the planet were wiped out, would we be alive? For a while we would, because phytoplankton in the ocean, it makes oxygen. But at some point, we'd be gone. It'd take a long time. But I look at trees as what we have. It's sustainable, lots of benefit, and it doesn't take a lot to save it. Just a little bit of common sense and a little bit of empathy and a little bit of understanding for something else that has a right to live and exist, and appreciate what it does. Thank you.
Before she steps out, do we have any questions? I know we're out of time in the meeting, but do we have any questions for Colleen?
I didn't see mesquite on there.
Oh, it's on there, and I love mesquite.
Okay.
But people would, you know, I love it. I just did, you know, that was kind of, yes, I'm all over.
We just have so much
I
mesquite
love
around
it.
here.
Yes.
Okay, and mistletoe.
So mistletoe is a parasite, as we know by definition, but it does serve a lot of functions. There are certain trees that are more susceptible to it than others, or like cedar elms, you see it in cedar elms, whereas it'd be rare to see it in a live oak or even in a red oak. But it does have functions. There are little creatures that live in that, so it's not all bad.
It doesn't kill the tree.
No.
All right. Well,
All right.
Colleen, thank you for being here, and thank you. It was a very informative meeting, and I hope you guys learned a lot. So let's give her a hand, guys. You guys didn't know this was going on in the background. It's just like we don't know about a lot of different things that are happening in the community, and it's because of people like Colleen that are called to a different duty to protect and help our community, that we are having a better community that we're part of. And just imagine, just by learning today, right, that if we can bring our temperature from 103 to 93, I'm in just for the savings of my electricity bill. So, but again, you guys can come to good work. I don't have any, well, I do have one last thing real quick. There's a Salvation Army QR code link that was created that's going to be shared going forward to help Cody and the Salvation Army. It has the club's name, so everything is funded or donated. It's going to be like Rotary donated. So make sure you guys share that link once it makes it to your inbox. Other than that, I look forward to see you guys next week at the Change Church, and also at the happy hour that we're gonna have. Is that your announcement?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Double chef barbecue, don't miss it.
There you go. That's for lunch meeting. Yes. And with that, if you could please stand up, we're gonna have Lieutenant Cody Jones give us the four-way test.
Guys, please stand or recite the four-way test of the things we think, say, due. First,
Is it the truth?
second,
Is it fair to all concerned?